Welcome to Hooked on Helis, the UK RC helicopter podcast. Whether you're just starting out or you're deep into the collective pitch life, Hooked on Helis is your go-to podcast for everything radio-controlled helicopter in the UK and beyond. From grassroots flying fields to international events, we're here to bring the hobby to life, one rotor blade at a time.
Hi guys, welcome to the new podcast in town, Hooked on the Helis. This is episode 1. I'm Sonny and I'll be the host of the podcast, and I really hope you enjoy what me and the team have got lined up for you all. So let's start at the beginning. Why Hooked on Helis? I always felt that the UK helicopter scene truly feels like one big family. There's a strong sense of community and we all support one another in the hobby. Launching this podcast feels like the natural step, a platform to showcase incredible things happening right here in the UK, including innovative products created by members of our own heli community. We'll be focusing on all aspects of the hobby and aim to have an independent conversation without focusing on one individual company or brand. The purpose of this podcast is to shine a spotlight on the UK RC heli scene, giving it the voice it deserves. We'll be talking about what's happening in the hobby, reviewing new products, and inviting some of the top manufacturers to share insights about their gear. We'll also be covering events, competitions, and everything else that keeps them rotor blades spinning. Whether you're a seasoned pilot or just getting started, this is your place to stay connected with the UK heli community. And in this episode, we aim to kick that off with a bang. So, before I introduce you to the voices behind the mics, most of which I'm sure you already know, I'll tell you a little bit about me and how I got hooked on helis. So, the blame has to lie with my old man, unfortunately. I remember ever since I was a kid, there used to be an awesome helicopter sitting on the front room table. And that heli was an awesome Concept 30 made by a company called Kyosho. I'm sure a majority of you guys will remember it. I remember playing around with it, turning it on, moving the radio up and down, always wanting to fly it. My dad never let me, so he insisted that I learn on a sim. Now, I started flying maybe, this is about 25 years ago. Back then, you didn't have things like Heli-X or AccuRC. We had an Atari, and on that Atari there was a sim called RC Aero Chopper. It had none of the fancy graphics that you see on the sims today. It was more like stick graphics, but managed to persevere, learn how to hover on it, and then started the real thing, which was going out and flying the Concept 30, which we could never get started. That was fun. So yeah, I spent most of my time on the sim flying Concept 30s, and then sort of electric came out with the Icarus Eco 8, I think it was called. First heli that ran on NiCads, I believe, and very quickly moved to the Raptor 30, which majority of people were flying at that time. Then I dipped in and out the hobby over the years, but took a long 10-year break after getting married and launching my own design agency. Once I established my business, I was able to take weekends off and decided to get back into the world of helicopters. I've been flying again for the last 2 years, and boy, how things have changed. The advancements in tech and machines have come a very long way since I last flew. Machines fly so much better now. LiPo technology has come a long way, making it easier than ever to get in the air. And believe me, I get in the air a lot. I've also been lucky enough to be welcomed into the Midland helicopter family as a team pilot, and thank them for their continued support. But anyway, that's enough about me. Let's hear from Rob.
Hi, it's Rob Turnbull. My current occupation, I'm the manager at Midland Helicopters. Got into flying back in 2002, about 23 and a bit years ago, I guess now. Yeah, kind of literally got hooked on helis pretty instantly. Loved it ever since. Been a competition pilot through UK competitions and competed internationally. I've got blessed with sponsors, starting out with Midland Helicopters before I went to work there, and now including Memflight with OMP products and Scorpion, Mikado, Savox servos, Opti, and Azure power blades as well. So yeah, I'm kind of blessed in that regard. I love flying, and yeah, we always have a great time whenever we go and get some flying done. Great fun.
Thanks, Rob. I think majority of the UK heli scene knows Rob Turnbull. He attends nearly every single fun flying event. He's always there helping out, there for advice whenever anybody needs. The next person added to the Hooked on Helis team is the world famous RC Heli Richard. He really doesn't need any introduction.
Well, I knew you'd do that.
Sorry, Rich.
Right, so my name's Richard, and I just love to fly. I think my life revolves around it. I started back in 2000 with the Raptor and Nitros, and then I gave it up for a bit, about 8 years. And then I kind of started again in 2013. And I've just been absolutely mad for it. I competed a bit in F3N. I've done a couple of the other UK comps, the freestyle comps, and Heli-Fest, I think it is. Now, I may have said this before, but I am just mad about flying.
Well, Rich, I've never seen anybody so dedicated like you. Interestingly, I think you should let the listeners know how many flights you do in a week.
In a week?
Week.
So last year I did about 4,300, which I think averages to about 12 a day.
Wow. Wow. That's incredible. That is some dedication.
Yeah, I think the machines are just getting better and better. That was mostly on 2 Tron Advances, funny enough. So I put about 2,000 flights on each one. And then the rest were on sort of a mix of all the other helis.
Wow, that really is some dedication, Rich. I think you have to be the person that flies the most in the UK. There's one person that can catch you up, and that's Mr. George Isaacs. Hey, George.
Well, unlike Richard, I probably manage about 6 flights every month. But I've been flying helicopters since I was about 5, so about 15 years now. My dad got me into it. Started on the Blade 400, then progressed to the T-Rex 500, then flew Align helis till, I don't know, about 2021. Been competing in the majority of UK competitions, F3N, 3D Champs, sadly gone now, Heli-Fest, etc. since 2016. I'm now flying for Tron helicopters, Align T-Rex models, and 360 RC technologies and Ego Drift motors.
Wow, that's a good selection of sponsors you've got there, George. Well, I hope that gives people a good insight of the Hooked on Helis team. I've tried to put a diverse team together. I think every individual can bring something to the table on this podcast. Rob has got the technical knowledge and the years of experience under his belt. Rich is just one fantastic pilot, putting out some great videos and content for the heli community to follow. George Isaacs, I personally think, is probably one of the top pilots in the country. He will be competing soon, and you guys will get to see how very technical George is. So, guys, moving on, I think we should tell people what our first sort of helis was. In the introduction, I sort of spoke about mine. Be interesting to hear about yours.
Mine was a Raptor 30 V2. I visited a local hobby shop, and they tried to convince me to start flying with a trainer plane, and I said I don't really want to do planes, thanks. I want a helicopter, and so the only thing that they had there was the Raptor. So I got fully kitted out with that, and a Futaba, I think it was a Field Force 6 transmitter, and put in touch with someone local to me and a club there to go and get help with setting it up and getting started learning how to bunny hop around the field on training undercarriage. It was great fun.
I remember them days.
Oh, yeah.
Those are good old days with the old training undercarriages. Rich, same question to you. What was your first proper heli that you started with?
Yeah, similar sort of thing. Raptor 30. I was actually into slope soaring at the time, but I got frustrated with sometimes you'd work the whole week and then you get to the weekend and there'd be 0 wind and you'd be kind of done. So I sort of had a look around for something powered and came up with helis. And then it was Raptor 30, Raptor 50, Raptor 60 when it came out.
Yeah, Thunder Tiger used to make some great machines. Them Raptors were just so popular for everybody. I don't know anybody that didn't have one, to be fair, back then. George, what about yourself? Ever have a Raptor?
No, I was a bit more modern. I started with a Blade 400, which was an interesting model to say the least. With I think it was a Heli command flight software on, so the camera went underneath. And then I moved on rapidly to a T-Rex 500 ESP, which was a big change from that, I'd say, in around 2010.
So, in comparison to me, George, that's a lot newer helis than what I used to fly. In the intro, I've touched upon what I flew, and one of my favorites had to be a machine called the Snail Flight Hoverfly. Not sure if anybody remembers them.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
Is that the three-bladed thing? It's got it runs on a wire.
it does. Yes, it was tethered to this wire that you plug into your Futaba transmitter at the time. And what we used to do is we literally bought it from Midlands Helicopters. Me and my dad went up all excited to go buy this new heli. Literally brought it home. My dad flew it for the first 10 minutes and crashed it into the fireplace. So it literally lasted 10 minutes. And then we were back into the car, driving all the way back to Midlands Helicopters. Trevor was there at the time, and he's like, I've never seen the crash happen so quickly. And that was within the hour.
The pain. Painful birth into helicopters.
It wasn't very productive, unfortunately. And I think thinking about it now, this is why you guys are all better pilots than what I am. I blame the machinery and Trevor.
Oh God.
Well, I think that concludes our intros and our introductions and our background in the hobby. Some more productive than others. So, guys, we are working on the production quality of the podcast. We're ironing out some technical issues. We're working out how to do things going forward. So, all I'd ask is that you please bear with us while we get our feet under the table and get into a rhythm. But I think that concludes our intros and backgrounds nicely. Let's move on.
From the field.
So, events from the field. This segment will cover recent events or fun flights that we've attended. We've all managed to get to Charmouth Season Opener, apart from Rich. So, Rich, first of all, you should explain to listeners why you didn't make it.
Well, on about Thursday, I think the forecast showed rain on Saturday, and I've been burned by Charmouth before. I mean, it's on the coast. It's sometimes gets pretty grotty weather, and I decided I would rather have a full day of flying in sunny Leicestershire compared to a potentially wet day in Charmouth.
And as it turned out, the weather was glorious.
Well, you win some, you lose some.
It was pretty decent on the Saturday. The weather picked up throughout the day.
I got a tan.
Sunday was fantastic weather-wise. The conditions were perfect for flying. Absolutely great, I'd say. The event itself has to be one of my favorites. The season opener, the season closer. It's always one of the best get-togethers of some of the UK heli community. It just feels like a family. It's an event where everybody knows everybody, everybody's catching up and just having great banter all the time. It really is one of my favorite events.
It's great fun. Season opener, but only for people that don't like close their seasons, you know?
Oh, yes.
Some of
yes,
us
very
kind of
true.
fly all year round, get freezing cold through the winter and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah.
You can get hypothermia while I stay warm in my house.
So, Rob, can you touch upon Charmouth for us, please? What was your opinion of the event and what did you get up to?
Well, it was a long old drive down because of roadworks down that end of the country, but took about 4.5 hours, I think, in the end to get there. So, yeah, the usual shenanigans, you know, good old fun in the bar, a few beers, catching up with friends and so on. And then up for Saturday, having a drive up to, it's only about 5 minutes away from the field where
Yeah, it's
everyone's
quite
staying.
close.
So, yeah, it's great access there. And AHA run the event. They'd got the whole field laid out and flags up, banners up, and you know, it was all good, ready to go. So we got in the field, got a lot of flying done. Loads of people turned up. I think there was For a UK event, there was, what was it, over 70, I think, around 70 pilots on the Saturday, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And some really nice flying again, as per usual. And then Saturday night, well, barring the odd incident, I think mostly went fine for most of us. So the usual bar
Definitely most.
shenanigans again.
We don't mention that, not on this episode.
It's definitely a sight that you had to be there to see.
Yeah, we
Oh,
don't mention that, George. Maybe for a
oh,
future episode, I think.
yeah. And then there wasn't actually any indoor flying going on. Sometimes there is. There has been in years gone by, but this time it was just more of the same, chilled out, chin wagging and catching up with friends and just talking heli as you do. And then Sunday the sun came out and was actually blasting. Lots of good flying going on. Yeah.
So Sunday, great temperatures, 0 wind, which is unusual for that field, but it was a beautiful day. Shame I couldn't stick around for the entire day. I had to leave and head back sort of midday. But luckily, I managed to get a few flights in beforehand. Managed to see George before I left. Surprisingly, woke up in time.
Oh, I got there. I got there like 30 minutes before you were leaving.
Yeah, I'm sure I managed to see one of your flights at least, George.
Honestly, I mean, I wasn't the issue with waking up, is all I'll say.
What happened, George? What
I
happened?
was up bright and early, so I'm not gonna say names, but I was waiting.
Oh dear.
Oh, controversial. So tell us about the event for you after you managed to wake up.
Yeah, it was really nice. So, especially with the pilots numbers we've had, it was around 70, as Rob said, which is a big improvement. I mean, throughout maybe I think 2017 to 2020 time, just before COVID, there was probably maybe 12 or 13 of us pilots there, and the event was almost on the brink of demise. So it was really good to see um, so many people having a good time and flying, and obviously loads of great flying. Yeah, it was really nice.
I think it's because Sonny started flying again. I think
Mm.
that's what it is.
Oh, we can't give them the credit.
I like how you guys are blaming me for this. But yeah, the amount of pilots that attended was incredible, especially seeing the level that some of them were flying at. I went to both the season opener and closer last year, saw a fair few pilots fly then. Now seeing them back this year, I was just taken back by the progress some of these guys have made. I was seriously impressed. The highlight for me was seeing some of George's flights, which I found so precise and technical. I think I was definitely wowed. Amazing seeing other UK top tier pilots attend the event. The legendary Ethan Williams actually made an appearance. People stopped, watched his flights, and clapped at the end of it when he landed. That was entertaining. Great to see how people are progressing year on year when we meet them at that event. Plus, it's extremely well organised by the AHA, who are doing a great job. That includes Julie Fisher, Dave Fisher, and the team. These guys put so much effort into getting down to the field nice and early, opening up, prepping the field, setting up their stands. Honestly, guys, great job.
Don't forget Susan, and Gary.
We're not forgetting Susan. Susan, thank you for keeping us fed through that weekend. Susan kept us topped up this year with cheeseburgers. So unfortunately, Rich, you missed out on them delicious cheeseburgers.
Yeah. Yeah, well. Life is hard, I guess.
So you need to make an appearance in the events in October. You can't let us down for that one.
Oh, yeah,
You've
yeah.
definitely got to be there for that one, Rich. Come rain or shine, you need to be there and be social.
Agreed. Although I probably won't be there.
What?
Where are you going to be, George?
I would have just moved back into uni by that point.
That's all right.
So-
That's no
You're
excuse.
fine.
It is an excuse, but it took me, I mean, to get to the Charmouth for just past, I left at 9 in the morning and didn't get there till I think it was around 6:30 at night.
That's a longer
So-
drive than me. Wow.
Yeah.
That is some
Well, it is.
dedication.
Especially with 0 hours sleep the night before. It was
Dedication.
Interesting.
Like it. I like it. It's good.
Dedication for the cause.
I think that's what made you fly a lot better, George. I may need to use that
Oh God.
tactic, I think.
I, no, if I don't, I can't. Yeah, but it was good. It was definitely a good event.
Yeah, it was a really good event. I think I really enjoyed it. Anything else to add?
I know. I think that was good. It was a good season opener, as they call it, for those that do stop. And it was nice to see so many people there again. And long may that continue.
Yeah, most definitely. Another quick thing to touch upon about the event was the accommodation. I absolutely loved the caravan I had. I had a whole two bedrooms to myself. I think it was brand spanking new too.
Up in the corner of the park, out of your way.
Yeah, it was a
No,
trek.
it
Up,
was.
up a massive hill.
it,
As
it was treacherous at times too.
as as Sonny's next door neighbour, I can back him up on that one.
Yeah, it was. It was quite
Well,
treacherous.
I try my best to be as loud as I can to keep him awake, but
Yeah, that didn't
couldn't
work, George.
persist.
I had a poolside apartment, which sounds a lot nicer than it actually is. They're not terrible. They're all right. And there is a pool, like, very nearby. But yeah.
Yeah, in front of you. Yeah.
Should have done heli games over the pool.
Did you?
Should do. Did a little, the M2 Evos out.
Should have. I had the S1 up outside the caravans for a bit.
Not that.
Had the S1 out the caravans for a bit, which was a bit of a laugh. But
Did you fly it? Did you fly it inside the caravan? Is the question. Like Steph
I
and
tried.
Adam Ben were
I
doing.
wanted to. I
Madman.
wanted to, but I can't control myself, and I'd probably end up smashing the windows or TV or something.
Expensive.
I think Steph landed on the roof, on the ceiling of his caravan. Nice.
Yeah, I saw them videos that these guys posted on Facebook. They look like they were having a right laugh, and some crazy flying inside that caravan. Looks like they had fun. But moving on, George, F3N.
Yes, it is. Yeah, F3N is. I think it's held at near Oxford, actually one of my local clubs. Really nice flying site. Really like massive flat open. Really good site to go.
Nice. So tell us a little bit more about that event, George. What does it consist of? And do we know anybody who's taking part?
Well, so firstly, I mean, F3N I feel like is a great tool for any kind of at any level from lower sports, grassroots level to right up to the top of pro. It's like I competed in Ifrin maybe for about 10 years almost. And honestly, the way it progresses your flying is unbelievable. It's because it's got a really nice format in the way where you have set maneuvers, freestyle, and a music routine. But if you want to, you can do the two set rounds and freestyle if you don't feel confident doing music, or vice versa, doing music freestyle on one set round because they only take three of the four categories. But it's mainly judged on technical precision, variety. For the freestyle and music, obviously musicality being one of the main factors as well in music. And set maneuvers consists of 7 sets that you choose, going from I think it's 1K to 13K. I could be wrong now, but it's either 11. Richard would know. Um, and you choose 7 off the list, and yeah, you go. It's a great event for progression, I think.
So just touching on that event a little bit more, George. I'm somebody that's never competed in a competition, never done F3N. So, from a layman's point of view, mine, could you explain the meaning of K factor? Is it simply a case of the harder the maneuver, the higher it scores?
It's pretty much this the weighting like for each set maneuver. So you got the lower ends at like 1 to 2K, which is the multiplying factor for difficulty. So the easier maneuvers will be lower K, and the higher maneuvers will be a higher K. It's what they use to multiply your scores to see the difference between someone who scores 15 out of 20 on a K10 or 15 out of 20 on a K1. So they multiply that.
So, in that case, can you give us an example of a high K maneuver?
So you've got the Pyro Rainbow X reversal for a higher K.
Bizarre. That came into my head first.
Yeah, it's probably it's the first one I could think of, um, which is one of the higher ends, and then on the lower K, you've got I think there's like 4-point stationary flips, um, a double Immelman, which is I mean kind of like a four, I think, which is literally a loop with half rolls. So
Right.
it varies from slight easy maneuvers that anyone can practice to the top end ones.
So, question is, George, are you definitely taking part?
I won't be there purely for the fact I'm at uni still, and it's I'm in season, so a bit full on for me.
Oh, I see. Do we know anyone else that's going to be taking part?
I know Steph's going down. Steph Simmons.
Oh, okay. Right.
He's having a go.
Yeah, and it's a team trial as well. So I imagine it'll have
Yeah.
Duncan and Dave Fisher.
Yeah,
Adam probably because he's on the team
Adam.
this year as well.
Yeah, Adam Domain will probably be doing it as well because it's at his club. I assume so anyway. But it's a team trial, so whoever gets through in that top four by the end of the year gets to compete in the Worlds, which is
This team for the Worlds this time, or is it a European this time?
I think it's Worlds because the last year was European.
Oh, okay. So it's Europeans that's happening this year then.
It's the Worlds this year, and they're competing for the European for next year.
Team spots.
Yeah, team spots,
Yeah.
European team spots.
Right.
Right wearing.
Rob, ever done F3N?
Well, funny story. So I actually with an old mate of mine, Mike Eddington, known as Edders, Mike on the mic. He used to be at Hely. Yeah, well, we got F3N kicked off in the UK years ago. We went over to an F3N event in Austria to see what it was all about, and then bring that back to set it all up within the AHA and the BMFA. And then we started running the F3N events and putting the team trial events on. And I competed in the team for several years at European and World Championships before I moved into the team manager role. And then, life things happened and I had to take a step away from those things. So that's when Julie took over and has continued it on. Bless her, doing a great job.
Let's put that same question to Rich. Rich, ever done F3N?
Yeah, so I competed. I think I started in 2017. I kind of worked my way up from the bottom. So my very first event, I think I scored about 600 or 700 out of 1,000. So I was just outside the sportsman's bracket. But the nice thing about F3N is you do 3 to 5 events a year, and you don't have to wait. So for something like Helifest, you can prepare all year. You get one shot at it, and that's it. And F3N is really nice, and that you can do your first comp early in the year, and then you get about a month to practice, and then you do your next comp, and you can actually see how your scores increase throughout the year. So it's really useful like that.
Good feedback from the judges as well, usually. Certainly how it seems to be.
You get a reasonable score sheet back after each round as well, so you can see where you can improve on for each category in each event.
That's why it's really good. Part and parcel of that's why it's really good for helping to progress and improve.
Any new pilot who's thinking about competing, I'd highly recommend to go into F3N because, I mean, I feel like it's the best way to progress your flying using like the standardized scoring that they use because it teaches you like flight lines, like entries and exits, use of airspace, technical features like reversals when you get to the higher end. The teacher gives you a really good basis for improvement.
It's a really good discipline to work up to, isn't it? It really teaches you how to nail moves and start being consistent.
You can go in at a lower level as well, though. That's why they have the sportsman's level and the lower K factor maneuvers, because you don't have to be a 3D god to go and have a go.
No, exactly. When I started, I think I was much lower than Richard. I started with like the flips on the spots and the I think there was like a move where you did a pirouette I literally just stopped it in each quarter for 20 seconds.
Mm.
And I mean, I scored in the 300s, 400s, but it was a really good stepping stone. The next year, I was scoring in the 6, 7, 800s.
Nice. No, progress. But that's you, George. You know,
That is you, George.
us mere mortals.
He's gifted.
I could still never overtake Richard at F3N. That's the thing he had on me.
Some past tense used there. Had.
Yeah, neither of us have competed in it for a while.
That's a shame. But fair enough. It's definitely looking like a great event to take part in and maybe train towards one day. I personally thought about it many a times as there was rumours of a new F3N grassroots competition.
Yeah,
Now that sort of died down somewhat. George, you know anything about it?
there's still talks about it. I mean, because I think we were thinking of holding it at Phoenix Rotors in Nottingham. Great site for anyone nearby.
That would be a good club to hold it at, to be fair. But lately, there's been so many new pilots coming into the hobby.
Yeah,
It might be a great opportunity to have a competition like that back in the UK to work up towards.
my first competition was grassroots when it was held at MK. It was amazing.
Don't think I remember that.
It was an offshoot of the 3D champs that we used to run.
Yeah, I can't remember. Weren't you a judge, Rob?
Oh, well, I was an organizer of that as well.
Yeah.
I may have done some judging, potentially. Memory's great and all that, you know, so I can't exactly remember, but I probably did.
Yeah, I remember 3D Champs very well. I remember I did all the design work for it. So cheers, Rob. Still a great brand, that one. I really like that branding.
Yeah, it was great.
Still looks cool. We should bring that back, I think.
We need to bring 3D champs back, honestly.
You know what, gents? I think we've really had some great events here.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, we had Zone, we had Air, we had 3D Champs. We've still got the F3N. Hopefully now the hobby seems to be busy again. We might see some coming back.
You never know. It's picking up.
Agreed. It's picking up.
Zone would be the best one to have fully back. It's kind of halfway back, but
Yeah.
that was the one. I mean, you had all the internationals come over. Like, I remember it was Jamie Robertson versus Ben Storick for years competing
Yep.
at that one together for the first.
Some superb flights back in the day there.
There was, yeah.
Well, this leads us on nicely to talk about the competition of the year. We have Helifest now incorporating the Zone format. So we have a lot of pilots looking forward to this.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure if Richard competed, he would do really well in that as well.
So come on, tell us, Rich, are you competing this year?
No, unlikely this year. Although I am very tempted to make a return at some point, but
Nice.
at the moment, I think I'm quite enjoying making videos for RC Helicopter Richard. That seems to be my focus. But
So it sounds like you're taking the road to becoming a digital curator, Rich, rather than a pilot.
I wouldn't say rather than a
Yeah,
pilot.
not rather than.
I don't know. My
Double figures every day. Yeah.
Yeah, no, my number one driver is definitely just getting out and flying. I think that. But yeah, in the UK, when the weather is not great, it's nice to have being able to create a bit of content, you know, when it's raining.
Yeah, I think it would be great to see you back on the competition scene, Rich.
Exactly.
No, I don't know, George. Beware what you wish for.
He's coming for you, George.
The more trons in the competition, the better. More diversity.
If Rich makes a return, that means we need to see Mr. Turnbull back into the competition scene. That'll be interesting.
Is there a pensioners group these days, or?
I believe it's what Bert calls old man 3D.
I'm with Bert. I'm totally with Bert. Old man 3D. Absolutely.
Comical. So, Rob, another one for you. I believe there's a new scale event in town which is coming up soon.
I like how you picked me for the scale event. Cheers, dude.
This is your bag from now on, Rob.
Apparently, this is my wheelhouse now.
It is, yep.
So, yeah, the annual Red Lodge Scale Fun Fly is happening on Sunday, the 25th of May. Ashfordby Football Club near Melton Mowbray in Leicestershire. Anyone interested? They've got details on the website, which is redlodgehelicopters.co.uk, and you can speak to Nick Clark for more details. Have fun.
All right, Heli heads, it's time for something new right here on Hooked on Helis. Welcome to our brand new news segment, your go-to spot for hearing about the latest and greatest. Whether you're tuning in from the flying field, your workshop, or stuck in traffic on your way to your next event, this is where we dig in deep into the stuff that keeps us getting back into the air. First up, the new Goose Guy E2. Rob?
I am not liking this. Anyway, so the first sort of sample Goose Guy E2 with GPS, the new red and white machine that they are launching imminently, should be in the UK in the next couple of weeks, according to my source. And yeah, we had the early sample through to shop and got that sort of set up, worked out how it all worked, and then went and gave it a little bit of a test fly in the car park. And yeah, I think it actually is really nice, really, really good. I think that's going to be a really popular model.
Yeah, it looks good for a scale model. It seems like it will be quite popular. Rob, could you just go over the differences between this machine and their previous one? I'm not too familiar with the whole Goose Guy range, but was it just an update of GPS?
Yeah, well, there's GPS and LiDAR on board, down facing. I don't have exact details on it yet. I guess we'll find out shortly. But it seemed to me like there was some sort of collision avoidance going on because I flew over my car and it did make the helicopter climb. So I was kind of curious about what went on with that. I guess we'll find out in time. But LiDAR, apparently the fuselage like detailing, which is very nice if you like to scale stuff. I'm digging a hole for myself here, I can tell.
Sounds like it. What about price point, Rob? Do we have that information yet?
It's not confirmed, but it's believed to be sub 500, so 470-ish is the ballpark, a guesstimation at the moment. That will be obviously confirmed once they are landed in the UK.
What sort of size is the machine, Rob? Is it similar to the S2 M2 200 size or slightly bigger?
Yeah, it's the 200 size of the Goose Guy S2. That's the mechanics underneath. And like I say, the fuselage apparently has been slightly increased in size. It was hard for me to tell because I've seen the original E2 from Goose Guy briefly
Right.
when that one first came out, and so that's my only frame of reference. And I think my 7 memory cells are kind of drying up, so I don't really remember it in great detail. But I'm led to believe the fuselage is slightly larger on it. It's nicely detailed. It's nice and bright in its red and white livery as well. So
Yeah, it looked really nice to me this weekend just gone. We had Craig flying one at the Midland Fun Fly event. The machine looked very stable and visible in the air, and really detailed. Looks like a nice machine. So, more new machines coming to market, the Tron Supreme and Dynamic Pro. The lads, George and Rich, saw them in person at Rotor Live. George, mind telling us a little bit about what you saw on the Dynamic Pro?
Yeah, so the Dynamic Pro is available in various color schemes. New herringbone bay gear and motor pinion to co-align with the Advance and Dynamic and Gemini line. They've added an additional belt idler pulley on the tail and updated the main shaft support with 4 bearings instead of, I think it was 3 before.
So, is it lighter than the previous version of this machine? Is that why the sort of new variation?
Um, from my understanding, it's the same weight, but it's just upgraded version. So, like how they went from the Tron 7 to the 7 Advance with the herringbone main gear. So it's much more efficient and quieter.
Yeah, that's something you definitely notice with the Trons. They're very quiet with that main gear, that herringbone main gear. That system works really well. Rich, you saw the Supreme, I believe, at Rotor Live. Care to tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. So there's been no movement, as far as I can tell, in terms of the Supreme when it's coming out. At Rotor Live, they did initially say it was about 3 months away, but that was just kind of a guess. And what we saw was it was a complete prototype. The model itself is exactly how Joachim explained it, where it's a complete redesign. I think there's probably less than 5% of the parts have been reused, and effectively it's a little bit more squat. It's raised the CG up a bit, so the rolling and the handling should be better than, let's say, compared to the the Advance, which was a little bit taller. And I think they're going to sell the two. So the two models are going to be sold together and supported together for quite a while, and then I think they see that possibly the Supreme will take over, and they'll move forward just with that. But that is potentially a couple of years away.
I really do like what Tron are doing with their new color schemes. I think they really work well. They've got some nice colors with the new Supreme and Dynamic.
Especially with the new painted tail boom. I think they really stand out.
I do agree with you, George. I think they really do work.
Yeah, I prefer gloss canopies than matte.
So do I.
Obviously reflect the sun better on a nice day.
I do think Tron gloss canopies work really well in our skies. They do pop on a dull day here.
Yeah.
They do work. I can see the new color variations really helping with visibility. In regards to orientation, with the crappy skies we get here sometimes, I can see that being a big help.
Yeah, it takes a lot to have a heli look good in our skies, and Tron seems to do that very well.
Again, I have to agree with you, George. My Nitron canopy and the original advanced canopy that Richard flies, I think they really stand out in our skies.
It's my personal favourite.
Yeah.
It's my personal favourite one, but
I like it.
I've been told off by my dad for stealing it off his too often.
I can understand. You can't do that. It does look great, though. I do get it. So moving on, the last bit of exciting news. Mikado are releasing V8. Rob, care to tell us a little bit more about it?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to be one of the people to be flying that ahead of release, basically, while it's been going through its development stage. And I've been thoroughly enjoying it. Really stepped things on from the previous version, well, 7 on an Evo or 6 on a Neo E-bar. Tunability is improved more, so you can make these, really, really nice, responsive if you want that. And yeah, I think there's a lot of people going to be very pleasantly surprised when they finally get their hands on it, and that finally is coming soon. Because Mikado are going to be doing that live stream on the 24th of May, yeah, that'll get announced and I believe released. I guess we'll find that out for sure, but I believe it's released at the same time they announce it on the 24th. So
hope so.
The VStarby website will have more information. Keep an eye on there and links to the VTV live stream where it will get announced.
Guest feature.
So, ladies and gentlemen, on our premiere episode, we've got the infamous Jonas Wackershauser. Did I say that right, Jonas?
I'm afraid you did not.
No. Wackershauser.
Wackershauser, yes.
Wackershauser. Sorry, apologies. Yes. So we've got Jonas Wackershauser in with us today.
Oh, good. I'm not making it easy for you.
We don't get a free ride on our first episode, unfortunately. But yeah, I've been trying to track you down for a very long time, Jonas, and have a conversation with you. Very interested in a lot of things, which we'll discuss. But let's rewind a little bit. I've always said that I've got a load of questions for you every time we spoke. So first question is, how did you get into the RC heli hobby, and how long have you been flying for?
Well, strictly RC helis, 2010. 2010 was my first step into the hobby when I got some like Walkera toys, micro helicopters. The Walkera 4G6 was a helicopter with a moving flybar head and the rotor diameter of an M1. It was a single cell in-runner brushless drive with a geared tail which had the slowest servo ever made and would break if you looked at it wrong. Every crash with that helicopter was like at least 50 euros in repairs because you just needed new head parts, new gears, you needed to open up the entire thing, you needed a new tail boom. It was awful, and that is what taught me to like really appreciate what we have in helicopters, in micro helicopters right now. Because when I started, like, God, I sound old, but like when I started, you would have burned as a witch on the stake if you showed them what we have now.
Well, I don't know if you heard the opening segment that I sent you. I started off on that snail flight hoverfly, which was tethered to the ground on a string. But like, them things were terrible, Jonas. Honestly,
When was that?
oh god, we're going back about 27, 28 years.
Oh yeah, that was just when I was born.
So I had a hard start into helicopters, as you did too. What was your journey into design and development like? How did you go from flying to designing?
Well, that is something that I tell everyone who's been in this hobby for a while. There is a natural progression. You start out, you learn things, you try things, you get better. You learn how to fly a helicopter. You learn about the technology of a helicopter. And then comes the point where you have to choose one of a couple destinations. Either your flying stagnates, you lose the fun, you drop out.
Yeah.
Or you pour a ton of time into it, get really, really good at technical flying, at like doing things in the air really well. For example, Richard, I really appreciate all these videos you put out that really nicely explain how to learn maneuvers.
Oh, wow. Thanks so much, Jonas. That's really kind of you to say that.
I actually use those and sent those to people to like visualize, hey, you here, this is a really good tutorial. You have to do this and this and that, and you have to practice it like this. And that is also one thing that I try to always do to teach people how to get better at flying.
Yeah.
That's cool.
He does a
Wow.
good job, our Richard.
And the third destination is that you do not focus on flying as much, but go into research and development. And that is kind of the path that I have chosen now. The actual start of me beginning to develop things was in 2018 when Funky brought out the first RotorTech 700 Ultimate with the orange tips. And they were awful. They were absolutely unflyable.
Right.
And so I just went out and emailed them with some pretty detailed feedback. And they got back to me and they were like, huh, this is not what we expect. Then they sent me some more. They also were not good. And then I had the idea to optimize the amount of weight that is placed in the blade. Then they made some more samples, sent them over to me. Then I picked one of those, and that is the configuration that the 700 Ultimate now has. Then I started talking more to Funky. They gave me more and more control about the over the blade development process.
Yeah.
And like the most recent half of RotorTech Ultimate came entirely from my hand. With me speccing the entire blade, the only thing Funky then did was draw it up, make prototypes, send them to me, see if they flew exactly like what I expected. And that taught me a lot about giving detailed feedback, differentiated feedback, constructive feedback, and how to approach product development. And then 2020, Mikado announced the Logo 200. I got one of those.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was working at Accuracy.
Right.
And we wanted the Logo 200 in Accuracy, but Mikado did not want to give us CAD files. So we approached the then representative of OMP in the United States, TJ Williams. And he's absolutely amazing. And he got us in contact with the factory in China. And they sent us the CAD files, and then we put the M2 and the Logo 200 in the sim. And TJ was like, hey, if you like the Logo 200, you're going to love the M1. I'm going to send you one. And then he arranged the M1 from China to me. And then he also arranged an M2, which I'm eternally grateful. TJ, if you by any chance listen to this, you are responsible for all of this, and I'm forever grateful for that.
And you rock, dude.
Wow.
TJ does rock.
He's awesome.
Cool beginnings.
Yeah, and then I started talking to Jeff, one of the CEOs at OMP, and then we went back and forth a little bit, and we were talking about upcoming projects, and that was around the time when they started working on the M2 Evo.
Right.
And he was asking for my feedback, and then they started incorporating things a little bit. And the real turning point with OMP was when they had a customer that was extremely annoying about a supposed tail issue on the M1. He was like, when I give collective up and down, my tail will always wander, always a bit more to the right or left, I don't remember. And Jeff was like, we tried to reproduce this, we cannot disprove it. All our test pilots tried, we don't have any more ideas, can you help us? And then I went, and sure, I locked out the yaw channel on my transmitter entirely and did exactly what the guy did, and sure enough, the helicopter didn't do it. Made a video about it, sent it to Jeff, wrote a paragraph about it, he sent that to the annoying customer, never heard from him again. And that was the point where Jeff knew that I had some capabilities that he wanted to make use of. And then eventually, after the M2 Evo came out, he wanted to give me more control about the helicopter development process. And then he asked me if I wanted to design the M4. And that's how it all came together.
Your role, Jonas, at OMP Hobby, so you are the designer there for everything new coming out, or is it just a certain amount of products that you get control of?
I am the lead helicopter designer. I'm also going to be working on other products in the future. What that's going to be, I cannot say right now.
Okay.
But we have a team in China of engineers. Of course, I do the helicopter design. For example, for tolerances, China does that because they know their machining equipment best.
Yeah.
They also do all the machining drawings because they need to be in Chinese, and the language barrier obviously prevents me from doing that. And they also work on helicopters. For example, when I was writing my thesis, I didn't always have time to work on the M2 V3 Pro myself.
Yeah.
So I just sketched out what I wanted changed and delegated that to the engineers in China. And they would then send back the models to review. And if that change was the way I wanted it, well, amazing.
Yeah.
That is basically a job done that I did not have to spend time on and could concentrate on my thesis.
That kind of leads me on to my next question is like the design process. So how does that start from concept to completion? Is it something that you would sketch out or you draw and then send that over to China and they make the drawings from there or make the molds? What's the process? Like how did it work with the M2 V3 Pro, for example?
Well, for any helicopter that I design, I usually just come up with the concept that I want. For example, with the M5, the central main plate was very important to me.
Yeah.
The servo rack I wanted because that just makes things easier for wiring. And then I usually start out with the main rotor, then the tail, and in the end I bring it all together with the mainframe. Because at that point you know where the rotors have to sit in relation to each other to achieve the blade clearances that you want. For example, the M5 can run 580s and 96 on the tail or something. And you have to be clear about what belt length do you need, where do you want to place the main rotor, the tail rotor, where do you want to place the main gear in relation to the tail pulley, and how much vertical space do you need in between the main gear and the main rotor for the servos, all that kind of stuff. And when you have all that, you build a frame around it to hold it all together. Otherwise, you're just going to be changing the frame 10 times afterwards, and that's going to be awful.
Got you. Makes sense.
Yeah, and then I just take the completed model, send it over to China, and they make the engineering drawings because, as I mentioned, they need to be in Chinese for the factory staff to understand. So even though I know how to make engineering drawings that you can manufacture from, I don't know Chinese.
So how long does the typical design process take from concept to getting the first initial prototype?
It depends on how stressed I am.
And if there's a thesis going on at the same time.
Let's put it like this: the M7 was completely stress-driven after the worst exam of my life, where I legitimately had no idea if I even passed or could finish my studies because, yeah, reasons, awful people at my university, and I cranked the entire initial design of the M7 out in 2 weeks.
Wow.
The M5, the M5 actually started in November of 2023 as a concept. Then I put it on ice. Then I had the idea, hey, I could write my master's thesis about this. And then I finished the design in probably 4 weeks. Then we prototyped it. Then I spent another, I don't know, it wasn't too long. It was like not even 100 hours finalizing the design. And that is the M5 that you have now. I think if I had to estimate the raw engineering hours without testing that go into one of my designs, it is about 200 to 250, maybe 300 if it's a difficult design.
Unbelievable.
Interesting.
It really is.
And then you also have the time it takes to assemble, to test fly, to test different electronics. I mean, that I'm not factoring in that because that is very variable. You could have a model that works out right off the bat. You could have a model that doesn't work at all. For example, the engineering test M5s for my thesis, where I developed the new technology on, I probably changed 90% of the parts afterwards again.
Oh.
Because there was just potential left in them, and I did not want to release them the way they were back then. Yeah, the only compatible parts at this point are probably like the blade grips from the prototype and like, I don't know, some tiny pieces in the frame, the belt, tensioner and stuff. Everything else has changed.
So was that the changes just done on your own feedback, or was it from pilot feedback?
It is based on team pilot feedback. China actually did the crazy thing of sending every single one of our pilots a prototype model, which we usually don't do because it's very expensive. We have like 30 pilots. And that led to a lot of feedback on the helicopter and a lot of changes that were required. The M2 V3 Pro testing team consisted of like 10 people. That is a more reasonable size. And
it's probably all you need as well, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it also depends on who's interested in what. Like, there are people who just want to fly 700s, not much point in giving them a 200.
Yeah.
There's people who are only interested in our small helis, or who don't even have a contract for our M7 because they fly for someone else. Also doesn't make sense to involve them in development of a 700, for example, that kind of stuff.
I think it's quite a diverse team that you've got. Like, you have people like Matthias, who, you know, is just getting into the hobby, starting to do circuits, if not fly inverted, likes flying smaller stuff.
He's great.
And yeah, he makes some great content. And then, you know, we've got some phenomenal 3D pilots out there as well.
Yeah, Matthias is wonderful. He's like one of the best ambassadors we have for our brands, and he's just learning flying inverted.
Yeah.
Which goes to show you do not need to be the best pilot to be sponsored. On the contrary, you have to add value to a team. This is what I tell everyone. If you want to be on a team, how you fly does not matter, like, at all. What matters is if you can promote the brand, if you have the technical knowledge to help customers, if you know how to add value to this team you're in, because it is a simple thing of cost and return. Every team pilot costs money, and they need certain qualities to make you that money back. And if they do that, they are a successful team pilot. So you do not make money by flying helicopters. You do not make money by being a good pilot. You make money by helping customers promoting the brand, giving the brand a positive image in public.
I think times have changed. Me and Rich always laugh now and say, well, we're not very good pilots. We just turn to content creators. Me and Rich, that's what we do. I think we're stuck. We're stuck at the level we are at flying, and that's it. We're just going to be content creators, aren't we, Rich?
100%.
I think let's kick things off with a bit of a debate, to be fair, with the new M2 V3 Pro that you've announced a couple of days ago. There seems to be a bit of a debate between the Mark II and the V3. I mean, we've seen comments on forums such as, "Oh, we've just bought the M2 Evo Mark II. I wish OMP would have told us." And other comments such as, "Oh, they've sold us a test bed. Why have they done this? Why have they released this model?" And I believe that's something that you wanted to come in and clear up straight away.
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, I understand these concerns. On the other hand, well, what are we supposed to do? This is just another product in the lineup. We are not replacing the Mark II. We are also not selling a test bed to people. Now, the M2 Evo Mark II, it originated from the M2 Evo, which was released in mid-2022. And that helicopter essentially is 3 years old now. And we had two choices. Number one, we could put OFS 3 in it, extend its life, upgrade it to the Mark II with the stronger motor, the optimized swash geometry, the wide skids, OFS 3, and give it more useful life. Or we could have held on to OFS 3 for half a year longer and then put the V3 out with it, forced everyone to buy a new helicopter to try the new flight controller, forced everyone to buy a $100, 100 pounds, 80 euros more expensive helicopter in the future if they want an M2. And I don't think that would be in the interest of people either, you know?
So I think there's another little question that we've got now. Again, a little bit controversial, but OMP have released an upgrade kit for the original M2, so the original Evo. So why would people now go with that option as opposed to the new V3 Pro?
Because the M2 Evo Mark II still has its place in the market. It is cheaper, as I mentioned, $100, and well, the M2 V3 Pro, it is really a high-end version for those people who find the M2 Evo Mark II to not be enough. So if you find yourself outflying the Evo Mark II, then the M2 V3 Pro is the helicopter for you. But the Evo Mark II is still an excellent helicopter. I've said it numerous times now. Just because we announced the V3 Pro now doesn't mean the Evo Mark II does fly any worse than before. It actually has its advantages because, for example, in the wind, the higher weight helps you carry the helicopter better through the wind, which on the V3 Pro you will have to fly actively against the wind more because it's just lighter.
That makes sense. I mean, in regards to the name, does the name sort of not cause debate as well? Would you not have called it something else? Or do you think that the name suits where it sits in the product line?
I think it suits it well. The M2 Evo was an evolution of the old M2 V2. So it carried many parts over. For example, the tail boom shape, the tail motor mounting, some parts in the frame are the same, the blade grips are the same. It was just basically an upgraded airframe. And the V3 is a completely new airframe, which is optimized in every way. So that alone warrants the V3 naming. And Pro is just because it is the top of the line.
Right.
And I don't know. Maybe there will be something not Pro in the future. I don't know yet.
I'm hoping we bring back a Max. I love that name. Like the M4 Max being my all-time favorite machine. I just hope we see the return of the Max in an OMP product line.
So just carrying on if I can, Jonas, with the airframe stuff. Obviously, it does look completely redesigned from the Evo and the Mark II. Can you give us a bit more information about the structure of that, and talk about the weight and the layout, etc., and maybe touch on any parts that might be upgradable on the older models using the V3 Pro parts, if at all?
Mhm. Okay, so the V3 Pro basically follows the main design concept of all the helicopters that I have designed except for M7. So it has a central main plate like the M4, M5, and M6,
Mhm.
and that brings some advantages for wiring, for the servo layout, because we now also have the servo rack, which arranges the servos around the main shaft. It is
Yeah.
just easier to get to things. It is also lighter because the upper cover plate made out of aluminum, which the M2 Evo and even M2 Evo Mark II had, that falls away completely. And
Mhm.
it's just a lower parts count to make everything easier, like working on the helicopter wise.
Cool. Yeah, I know somebody's asked me about whether or not they might be able to use the boom mounts and the boom off the Pro on a Mark II. Is that a thing? I suspect not, but
No, that is not a thing because
yeah.
the boom mount is integrated into the main plate. That is one piece,
Okay.
and the new boom is a round carbon fiber tube. The old one
Yeah.
is a extruded aluminum profile. But you can technically use some parts on the M2 Evo Mark II if you want to. For example, the main rotor blades, they come out of the same mold. We just optimize the material that we use.
Right.
You can technically use the blade grips from the V3 Pro on the Evo Mark II, which have shorter arms, so you get some of that geometry advantage.
Nice.
I have put the shorter main shaft of the V3 Pro into an Evo Mark II, but that leads to some issues with the swash plate drivers not sitting very level anymore. So that is a
Yeah.
bit of a hack job, but it can be done. The canopy of the V3 Pro, it is not made to fit, but you can put it on, and if you DIY around the skids a little bit, you can probably make it sit properly.
That's been a
Interesting.
very popular question. People want to know if they can utilize the canopies on their
That new
Mark
canopy
IIs.
style is just
It's
glorious.
beautiful. It's beautiful.
So, Jonas, we've seen mention of black anodized aluminium parts and new canopy colors. How important is visual design and aesthetic for you when releasing a new heli?
It's actually very important because these helicopters are basically an artistic expression.
Mhm.
On one hand, they have to fly nicely, but on the other hand, they also have to look like something you want to buy. Like, if there is a visual appeal to a helicopter, I'm more likely to buy it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So the black aluminum is something we have started with on the M4 and then carried out throughout M5, 6, and 7. And I think it just works. It works really well. Also with the new black lines we have in the canopy now,
Yeah.
which we introduced on the M5 and M6, which were white on the M7. I think it just works really well together. Also with the carbon fiber boom, it's a really nicely rounded visual package, I think.
Yeah.
As a designer myself, Jonas, I do love the lines. I do love the canopy colors. I love the way the lines actually follow the mold of the canopy. They're not
It
just
flows
random.
with the
Yeah,
shape. Yes.
it's just like not randomly. There's not random patterns all over a canopy. There's actual design language there. The canopy shape looks great. I think they're really really good looking models. I have to admit.
Thank you.
Me and Rob often joke when we're flying them at the field, and we refer to them as Pokemon. Like we've got to get them.
We've got to get them all.
We've got to have them all. We've got to collect all of them.
The thing is, I never studied anything with design. I have no idea about design, to be honest. So this is really just making it up as we go, spamming our team chat with ideas, seeing what sticks, what is liked by many people, and well, sometimes they like it, sometimes they don't, and then we approach a final picture that everyone agrees on. So it is very much a team effort. Our designers in China also help us out a bit sometimes. For example, the M7 canopy, the initial sketch of the design we're putting on our helicopters now, that is a modification of something our designer in China came up with. We took that in the team and thought, how can we make this better? How can we make this nicer? And that is how we ended up with the design we're at now.
That's cool.
I'll let you into a little secret, Jonas. I never studied design either. It's just something I got thrown into. I hope my customers aren't listening.
I don't think they'll care, dude.
No, I don't think so.
It's all good. So yeah, my next one then. Flight performance is clearly a major focus. Obviously, OFS3 being phenomenal. Can you explain the upgrades you've made to the rotor system and how those changes have improved aerodynamics and flight characteristics?
The rotor system is a complete redesign. So we have, as I mentioned, shortened the blade grip arms, which gives you more cyclic pitch.
Yep.
The swash blade is similar to before, but we also changed the ratios a little bit there. And that just leads to more pitch being available when you give combined inputs, which was a thing on the M2 Evo Mark II, that if you had a lot of collective input and would then move the elevator, the servos could actually saturate if you did not have a servo arm on there that had the trim very close to 0.
Right.
That is now not an issue anymore, and that is one of the main improvements on the main rotor head. We also have palm dampers now, which I know many people love, and you wouldn't believe it on such a small heli, but they.
I was just gonna say this thing's tiny. How do you get palms in there?
They actually make a difference. Yeah, it's crazy.
Do they come as standard, Jonas? Do the POMs come in as standard on this machine?
No. We're doing rubber damper standard because the POMs actually introduce a resonance range, which I know people are going to complain about if they don't know about it. So rubber for default, and then POMs if you really want to go high RPM, hard flying.
Do we get them in the box like we did with the M7s and the M5s?
You do not. You have to buy them, but they will not be expensive. It's just 2 little POM pieces and a rubber ring.
In the box with the M6 as well. Just saying, by the way.
Yeah, we're gonna need some POMs, Rob.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The new Apex 190 blades and tail motor setup. They sound like game changers. What kind of performance should pilots expect in their chosen flight modes? Low head speed, bimble around, and smack 3D.
Yeah. So the Apex, as I said, they come from the same mold as before, because the Evo blades were really good, but they were just a bit heavy for my liking, so we optimized the material. They're now lighter, and they have, let's say, they're optimized in their flap-wise stiffness. I cannot tell you exactly what we did, but they track better now. If you go full on balls to the wall on the speed of the helicopter, you will run into instabilities way later than before. It's actually scary how fast. It's actually scary how fast such a little helicopter can go now.
I just saw a video before we sort of did this. I saw a video of your high RPM flight, and I was just amazed at the speed of that thing. It's crazy and how well it tracks. You can just see it from the flight characteristics in that video.
And about 10 seconds in, when you go sideways loop at like 100 miles an hour, I was like, oh Christ, look at the tail on this thing. It's amazing.
Yeah, the tail does hold well. It is using the same propeller from the M2 Evo, which we just repainted. Which also, you can also put the Apex tail propeller on the Evo, just for a visual difference. That is also something I forgot earlier. But yeah, the motor is the most optimized thing because it's way lighter, so it improves tail acceleration. But it does actually not lose out on power compared to the Evo motor.
Nice. So that's a different motor again then from the Mark II.
Yes, it's a new motor.
Nice.
Wow. I think I love the details that you've gone to on even the tail blades to have the little print Apex on there. That's a nice little touch.
Oh, that was a complete fever dream at 2 a.m. I was like, we're printing the main blades. Why are we not printing the tail prop? And my boss was like, you want to do what? And I was like, okay, don't do it. 2 weeks later, he sends me pictures. Look, we printed your tail prop.
It's done. But what an awesome little touch that is. I love just these little quirky features this machine's got. It's going to feel like Christmas when we get them.
It's cute. It is really cute.
It really is.
Playfulness.
So I don't know much about this system, so Sunny has kindly written some questions for me. So Jonas, can you tell us about OFS 3 and how it's been optimized for the M2 V3 Pro?
So OFS 3 is actually the exact same OFS 3 system that was in the M2 Evo Mark II. So same housing, same board, same everything, just tuned differently. Of course, you have to retune it if you change your rotor system, change the blades, change the tail.
Yeah.
And we will have a separate firmware that has the correct defaults for the M2 V3 Pro. So even if you need to reflash from, like, if you're update boards and you need to reflash everything, then you're going to have the right defaults already. It will, of course, come pre-tuned for the V3 Pro. And the default setup flies very similarly to how the M2 Evo Mark II flies, but with the advantage that you can open up the cyclic rates and everything way more now because of the changes to the head.
I just think with my Mark II Evo, I just didn't have to touch that thing out the box. It just flew amazingly well. I think all we did was just dial in agility settings because I fly mine on V control. But out the box, the flight controller just felt really nice. Like I haven't touched it, haven't dialed anything in it at all. So you did a good job on that one, Jonas.
Superb. Yeah, it flies great.
Thank you.
And how beginner friendly is the M2 V3 Pro? Is it a sort of a good option for someone stepping up from smaller micros or transitioning into 3D?
Let's put it like this. The M2 V3 Pro, if you put it in stability mode, it will be just as docile and easy to control as any other helicopter in stability mode, but it is not made for beginners. So if you're a beginner and you have a lot of money, of course, go for it. But it is not something I would immediately recommend to beginners. For that, the re-release of the M1 V1 is probably the best bet to get started with a very cheap to crash, very easy to fly helicopter that is also easy to repair. And if you want to step it up to 3D, I mean, of course, you can then go to the V3 Pro. That will have advantages. I described it like in a forum. I was asked if this is not just something for the top 10%. And I was like, well, it's more of a bathtub curve from the moment you can do more than hovering. So if you imagine people starting out with 3D, they are going to try all the moves, but they don't have the skill and the control over their sticks. So they just corner the sticks and see what happens.
Yeah.
And then you get these reports of, oh no, my helicopter bogs. This does not have enough power.
Yeah.
Which is one of the main reasons we actually made the main motor bigger on the Evo Mark II, because it was never really necessary for the normal 3D pilot who has this control over their helicopter. I never felt a need for more power from the motor. So when you progress, you need less power again, and then as you get better again, you can make use of the extra power that you get from these new and improved motors. So it might not necessarily be a bad idea to go with the V3 Pro immediately if you start learning 3D, just because it has more control overhead. In the cyclic, the collective, it also has the same power from the motor as the Evo Mark II, but with 25 grams less weight to lug around. So it actually feels more powerful. And it really depends on what kind of person you are. If you corner the sticks, that's going to help you. If not, you're going to be fine with the Evo Mark II just as well.
So Battery swaps and maintenance look easier on this version. Was user friendliness a major design goal this time around?
Definitely. Um, as I mentioned, the frame is more open now, so you get way easier to everything. You can now swap all servo arms without unmounting the servos from the frame. The battery swaps, they were just a natural evolution of the clamping system. We looked at user feedback. Some people were actually complaining about the little indents they got from the rubbers on the batteries of the Evo Mark II. So we changed it up to the injection molded plate with the wide pressure tongue that presses it up against the battery.
Yeah, that looks
Nice.
neat.
That does look quite nice.
Yeah, I like it.
But I am still standing firmly with having to remove the canopy for a battery swap because
Yeah,
it takes 5 seconds to take it off and put it back on.
and it looks way better.
It looks way,
Yeah.
way better. No, but if you just look at the photos we published of the helicopter so far, it is so slim and nice in the front. And it is just not possible to do a open front canopy that is that elegant, and that is super important to me.
So, Jonas, with all these improvements, what sort of flight times are we people seeing using different flight styles?
Well, the flight times have been a major focus in this because the M2 Evo Mark II, it really did not get amazing flight times if you really push it. I was like flying 2 minutes 20, 2 minutes 30.
Mhm.
And from all the optimizations we did, we are now getting 3 minutes of actual 3D flight time on the V3 Pro, and that is pretty significant. It is up to 25% more if you really push it.
That's a big jump, yeah.
Wow.
For normal flying, you will see 10, 15, maybe 20%, depending on how hard you go. The more you change directions quickly, the more you will see an increase in flight time, just because physics, you have to accelerate less mass,
Yeah.
and that saves energy.
And the response from the community and test pilots so far? Have there been any good reactions? Bad?
Well, we had that in the beginning. Some people were obviously disappointed that we brought out the MK2 last December and now are bringing out the V3, but that was the minority. I'd say 90% were very pleasantly surprised. We have quite a few pre-orders already, and most people understand that this is not replacing the Evo Mark II. So generally, the response has been very positive, and especially our pilots, they are going out with their bigger helis way less now because they say this flies just so good. I don't need to fly an M4, 5, 6, 7 anymore if I want to have fun. I can just take the V3 Pro and go out with that. And literally, I'm not making this up. I was asking my guys, hey guys, can you publish some videos about the M4? And they were like, I don't even have it with me anymore.
No, no.
Like, as stupid as it sounds, this is a good thing because for me, this means that, like, I love to just hop on my bicycle and ride out into nature with my helicopters. And if I can have 2 M2s, a full set of spare parts, tools, the X100 power bank, 12 batteries, and just ride out 5, 10, 15 minutes out into nature because I luckily don't live in a big city. Um, that's amazing. That is a full day of flying because then I have
Yeah.
24 batteries that I can fly. And
Wow.
it's just so chill because, like, I don't have to put an M4 in my backpack anymore.
I sort of understand that where you're coming from, Jonas. I think even with myself, I prefer flying smaller stuff because it's so unintrusive. You're not having to think about your flights a lot like you are with the bigger machines. You can fly a little bit closer in. You can fly in more confined spaces. So it's a bit of a revolution in that sense, where small helis are becoming the pick up and go machines that they're the ones that you want to fly the most now.
When they've got the performance level, yeah.
It's crazy because I know in one of your videos you said that the difference between the Evo and the Mark II Evo was night and day, and it really was. I didn't think there'd be that much of a difference in jump in performance, but the machines behave totally differently. Like, I've flown the crap out of my Mark II Evo, and I never blown that tail out. I can't blow the tail out.
It's not possible.
I've tried.
Yep.
Me and Robert both tried. We can't do it. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, that is the whole idea. So I don't want to pat myself on the back too much here, but like we are in a position where we can finally put all that knowledge to use that we have collected over the years. Not just me, also the other guys. Like every single one of our helicopters is a team effort. We have a bunch of test pilots who are very eager to work on these helicopters with us. I usually go design them, and then we send them out to everyone, and they give their suggestions for improvements, and these get incorporated. And like we've all been flying for years and years, and we've flown so many things that we have a very, very good understanding of what works, what makes a helicopter fly well, what do you want to avoid. And these new helicopters, this new generation of helicopters that we're putting out now is the result of that.
Cool. Awesome. So, with OMP now having a full range of electric helicopters from M1 all the way up to the M7, how does the M2 V3 Pro fit into that lineup strategically?
That is a good question. It is pretty much in line with what the M5 tries to be. A very lightweight, very high power option. It comes at a price, but that price stems from extreme optimization. If you build an M5 and look at the carbon frame panels, at least the inner ones, not the cover ones, you can see that I cut out every little bit of carbon fiber that I could. Also, the main plate, it is like in the back, it has this kind of fishbone structure just to save a couple more grams. That is the entire idea behind the M2 V3 Pro, to be similar to the M5 in concept. And if you have flown an M5 at like any appreciable level of 3D flying, then you kind of know how light it feels.
Yep.
I think that was going to lead me on to my next question, which was where were the weight saved on this model compared to the Mark II?
Everything was made lighter, like literally everything. Like the main plate is lighter. The servo rack now replaces the upper cover plate, which saves weight. The tail boom is way lighter. The motors are lighter. Just OFS 3. That is actually something that's been holding me back, because the housing that was designed for OFS 3, which was actually something China did, not me.
Right.
It is heavier than I wanted, but you cannot change a mold after it's made. So we could have saved 1 or 2 more grams there, but it is what it is. Then also shorter main shaft. The head pieces were optimized. Actually, the blade grips weigh approximately the same because the arms are shorter but beefier now, so you don't bend them as easily anymore. Blades are lighter. The canopy is a couple grams lighter because it's just got less surface area. So everything is really optimizing for weight on this helicopter. The last 5 grams, because I set a hard limit for 320 grams right when this project started. I was like, guys, we're not bringing this to the market if it does not weigh 320 grams. Then I got a prototype in January, and that was at 325. And I was like, that is too heavy. We're going to save 5 more grams.
On a diet you go.
Actually, a funny story. We were at that fair in Düsseldorf, Boot, because we also, which means boat in English, which we were at because we're now doing these underwater scooters, the K5 and the K4. And it was at that fair that they brought me the new prototype with all the updated parts. And between supporting customers and selling K5s, I always sat down on my laptop and was saving these 5 grams. And it was like 40 hours that I put into saving these final 5 grams to get the helicopter down to the weight I wanted.
That's awesome.
Wow. I remember seeing that exhibition, a video of that exhibition. I remember seeing you at your laptop. I was like, oh, now I know what you was doing. He was designing the Pro.
Yeah, that was exactly that. we also had the helicopters there at the exhibition. So if anyone there had known about RC helicopters, actually, one person recognized me. One person was flying RC helicopters and recognized me. He was like, "Holy shit, you're Jonas!" And I was like, "What? How do you know me? You're a boat person."
Damn, I should have gone to that exhibition. I could have got a sneak peek.
But yeah, no, we had these helicopters there, and if you had looked into that little shed they built for us, you could have seen them. But that is the most unsecretive thing we've done with these, because we have a very, very strict secrecy policy these days for
good.
obvious reasons. And yeah,
Yep.
that is, I think it's working really well. Like, there's always some rumors, but I don't think anyone has actually seen these helicopters before the launch.
No. What are spares pricing like compared to the Mark II? Would they be similar, or would they be a little bit more expensive?
I actually do not know. This is the same thing that I mentioned earlier when people ask me, "Hey, when are spare parts gonna be available at that retailer?" And I'm like, I'm not responsible for the logistics, just like I'm not responsible for the pricing. Um, I mean, I give my opinion on pricing, but like in the end, it's China deciding what is
Yeah.
appropriate for the cost of the model in manufacturing, in logistics. Also, the prototyping before that also plays into the price.
Yeah.
And I just don't know.
Sure, I get that. And then another question for you. I watched your product launch video where you spoke about the new V3. You said that you've done extensive crash simulations on it. How does the machine crash compared to the Mark II? And like you're saying, it's not really made for beginners, but from what you've said in that video, to me, it's like, if it crashes better, is it not a better learning tool?
Crashes comparably. So I've had like 5 or 6 really nasty crashes to date, and like 15, 20 mild crashes. And the parts you break are usually the same as on the Mark II. Some I've mitigated by, like, for example, the beefier blade grip arms was something I really wanted to do, because on the Mark II you have this really long, really skinny blade grip arm, and if you crash on the head, in addition to bending the spindle shaft and breaking the servo arms, which are really not a big deal,
Yeah.
you could very easily bend the blade grip arm, and that is a big deal, because then you either have to bend it back or buy a new blade grip, and that is an expense that gets kind of annoying after a while. So that is one aspect. Then we have braced the frame after one nasty crash that bent the main plate. We have braced it up against the servo rack, and now the forces are distributed way better, and we have not bent the main plate since.
Right.
So that is really nice. And it's just general things. The worst crash I had was when I went in sideways in a funnel, and all 3 servo arms snapped, and the blade came down and actually went through the prototype canopy and took the entire front off. And
Tragic.
that was 2 days before the photo shoot for the for the announcement. I was like,
Oh god.
I am so glad I had China send me 2 of each canopy, because otherwise we would have had a big problem.
Yeah.
Wow, that's quite lucky. Because like I had another bit design question for you then. But like, we're talking about crashes. On every crash that I've had on my Mark II, I've always bent a blade grip arm. Is there not a way to make a 2-piece blade grip arm with the actual arm being sacrificial on these?
It's too small for machining.
Right.
It is too expensive to machine tiny pieces like that. And also with the tiny screws you would need,
Yeah.
they would
not
probably
possible.
snap.
They wouldn't
They
be
would
strong
probably
enough.
snap, and then you're stuck with a blade grip that you cannot use anymore, because you have the thread stuck in there, and then, well, you're kind of out of luck.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I did always want to ask you that question, because after a crash, we do try and pick these machines up and go again. And Mine always sounds like a washing machine.
Blade trucking out a mile with a big grip. Nice.
And all I can hear is Rob behind me laughing his head off while I'm still trying to fly it.
Yeah, no,
And it still flies.
It still flies.
It's definitely something I have thought about and asked China about, but they said there's no way. There's no way you're making these tiny, really like tiny arms in any cost-effective manner.
Well, good that you thought about it. I'm glad I asked the question. I don't know. I've got a definitive answer, so thank you.
Cool.
So moving on, Jonas. When can we expect this new V3 to arrive? I know I'm waiting.
I know you're waiting. So it is in full mass production. It really just depends on how quickly the shipping carriers can get them places. Like we're already sending samples to shops like one-offs. If you are really nice to the Midland guys, you might be able to try theirs.
If only we had one.
Rob, you're such a nice guy. You're my favorite person in the world, Rob.
Look what you've just done, Jonas.
You're not hiding one from me over there, are you, Rob?
Oh my god, no.
But yeah, looking at Chloe's pictures, I don't think they're too far off. I think the pre-orders have said mid-June. So yeah, we're only a couple of weeks away.
Early mid-June, hopefully.
Well, I said early June. That is of course a bit optimistic. That requires shops to order by air, which is more expensive. I know not all shops are going to do that. I know Life Hobby is going to get a couple by air. I know Buddy RC is going to get a couple by air. I don't know if Midland will order by air.
We have.
Good, you have. That means
yes.
that means early June is realistic because air shipments usually take like 2 weeks or so if customs don't act up, and the rest just comes by boat 3 or 4 weeks later, and then we should have a steady worldwide supply end of June, beginning of July.
Yeah.
With the first ones being available early June.
I think Rob's already pre-ordered on the Midlands website.
That wasn't me, that was a customer.
He's already got his pre-order in.
I'm very excited.
I was second.
I can't wait.
So yeah, Joe, I've just got a couple of questions from people that want me to put these forward to you if you're okay to answer. They're not related to the new V3, unfortunately.
I can guess one of these questions already, but bring them on.
Okay. So first question is: people are loving the new canopy designs that you've rolled out on the M5, M6. People have asked me so many times, will these new designs be coming to the M7?
You're gonna get the default response. Well, we're always working on new things, and
I take that as a yes.
I cannot. You could ask me for if we're gonna build a Falcon 9 competitor and gonna launch from China and compete with SpaceX, and I'm gonna give you the same answer.
We're always working on it.
We're always working on new and exciting projects.
Okay, so next question I've been asked to put forward to you. You'll probably laugh at this one. Is Chloe the real undercover boss at OMP Hobby?
Oh my god, she totally is. She bosses me around so much.
Oh, she's so good.
I keep having this conversation with Chloe. I was like, Chloe, you're really the boss, aren't you? She's like, no, it's Jeff.
She totally is. Like today, I sent her an order for some parts and some stuff, and she was like, "No, I will not send that." And I was like, "Chloe, I need these parts. No, you cannot have them now." And she's always like, "No, go ask my sister, Chloe number 2."
She's brilliant.
God.
We love Chloe.
She's such a sweetheart.
Great.
Oh my god, she's the absolute sweetest. Like my mom, when we were in New York over New Year, she saw Chinese lanterns and was like, "Oh, these would be nice for our living room. Can she was like, can you get your Chinese friends to bring some?" And I was like, hey, Chloe, can you bring Chinese lanterns? And then like she brought them to Rotor Live, and I put them up at night. And the next morning, my mom walked into the living room, and she was like, "What the did you do?"
God.
She did not expect that, but they're still there. She likes
Wow.
them, but like, yeah, Chloe is the absolute sweetest. She like, if you need anything from China, just
Yeah.
let her know, and on our next trip to wherever you are, she's gonna have it with her.
I keep bugging her, so I was like, Chloe, you need to get us an invite over for a factory tour. I think that would be great. we want to visit the factory.
But then they need to put all the secret stuff away.
That's true.
No, they don't have to. They can leave it out. We won't tell anybody.
Yeah.
Okay, so next question. Again, keep getting asked this. The M2 V3 Pro, will the coloured booms also be available on release, or will they be coming sometime after?
They will be coming sometime after, because retailers already have to stock like all of the parts.
Yep.
And to just add more colored options is just adding insult to injury. We've cut down the colored options on these helicopters already so much just to unload retailers from carrying so many different parts. We're just
Makes
going to
sense.
chill a bit on that.
Next question is, you probably can't answer this one, but have we got anything else in the pipeline that's Heli related, and will our wallets have a chance to recover?
They're always working on.
We're always working on new and exciting.
I think we've covered everything that we wanted to ask Jonas. Thank you very much again for joining us and premiering the new machine on our new podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. And tomorrow I'm gonna have the same conversation again with the guys at Rotor Revolution.
We'll make sure ours is out before theirs.
Don't worry, I'm gonna shout you out on theirs as well.
Appreciate
That's
that.
cool. Appreciate that.
That's
They
very
rock
cool.
as well. They're cool.
They are cool
Yeah,
guys. We do.
they're awesome people just like you guys. It's so good to have different options for podcasts now. I really appreciate you guys starting something new, because I also once did a podcast with some friends, Rotorheads, if anyone remembers that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
In fact, I've still got the videos.
That was a long time ago, and we were flying on a sim and bullshitting, and it's always fun to get together with friends and talk about the things in the hobby. And I hope I could give a good insight into why we're doing things the way we're doing them and how we're doing them. Should be good.
I'd love to get you back on at some point for a future episode, like talk about other things if you're up for that as well. That'd be good.
More new stuff. That'd be awesome.
More new stuff. Discuss the olds. And then while I've got you, Jonas, one more question. But this is one from me. If you had to pick one machine in the OMP hobby range that you're only allowed one, what would you have and why?
Oh my god.
He keeps doing this to me.
Like until last week, my answer would have been the M4 Max. Because the M4 Max is still one of the best flying helicopters we've ever made. It's small, it's easy, it still flies very maturely. But the M2 V3 Pro is giving it such a run for its money. I think now that that's out, I'm gonna have to go with the V3 Pro. Because it's just... It has been my go-to heli for going out to the field really quickly, since we got the prototypes up to the level that we also have the release now. It has overtaken the M4 Max in my favorite helicopter Hall of Fame. Let's put it like this.
That's quite a feat. The M4 Max is awesome. Very.
It is one of my favorites, and it's probably the one I've put probably a couple of thousand flights on now.
It's ridiculous.
Do love that machine.
Same.
But yeah, Jonas, thank you very much again, and I really appreciate you taking the time out to speak to us all.
Yeah,
thank you again for having me. Gladly gonna do this again in the future.
Glad to hear it. So just like that, it's a wrap. I'd like to say a huge thank you to Jonas for joining us on the first episode and kicking things off. I couldn't think of a better way to launch the first episode. Also wanted to give a massive shout out to Nick Wisdom, Bert, and the entire team at Rotor Revolution. Thank you guys for the support, encouragement, and reaching out to us. It means the world to me to have the backing from legends in the hobby.
Big thank you as well to Midland Helicopter Club for extending a nice warm welcome to us at their Funfly event. That was all great, lots of great flying from great people, good vibes, and just a good time in general. So thanks guys.
Thanks guys, thanks for having us. We really appreciate it. We all had amazing. A really good time that day. No, Rich actually turned up to that one. So guys, plans for the next couple of weeks, what have we got going on? Any events that we're going to? Anything in the pipeline, Rob?
I've just got a little bit of no maintenance to do yet again. So I'll be doing that in preparation for the MK Heli Club Fun Fly coming up.
And what's the date on that, Rob? It's Saturday the...
24th.
24th, yeah. Hope to see you there.
24th, right. Are we all going, Rich? What's your plans for the next couple of weeks? Are you going to the Fun Fly?
Right, yeah. So, well, number one on my list is I have to fix up the Tron Advance, which had a little accident at the Midland Helicopter Fun Fly.
Whoops.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I had a battery lead, just fatigue and snap, and I was kind of low and going downwind and didn't have much chance to save it, but it's not too bad.
I saw the aftermath.
Yeah, I think it's blades and spindle and skids, and that's about it.
I saw a broken skid. That was all, really. Cool.
Yeah.
So will we see the rebuild on the channel, Rich, on your YouTube? Are you going to be doing a video?
No, it's far too small. We shouldn't take more than an hour. So
I thought we'd see a nice rebuild video on your YouTube channel.
No, the Carl Rickard, I think from the Boomstrike Festival.
Yep.
He did a build on a Tron Advance, so I don't think it needs to be redone.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. I think they go together quite well, don't they? Them Tron Advances.
Yeah, and then that'll be done before the MK Heli Fun Fly, which is actually in 6 days on the 24th.
Crikey.
Right. Awesome. George, plans for next coming weeks?
Well, a little bit of maintenance to do as per usual. Couple of fun flies. I'm not 100% sure if I'll be able to make the MK one yet, but
oh, that's a shame.
Hopefully, we'll see.
Hopefully, we'll see you there.
Be good if you can do.
Yeah, it won't be the same without you, George.
It's moving day out of uni, so we'll see.
Oh, nightmare.
But it is on the way back. I have to go past it.
You might as well pop in for a fly or two.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll hope to see you there, George.
We'll see.
But yeah, I think that sort of wraps up the first episode nicely. I really hope everybody enjoyed the first episode. But if you guys, anybody would like to take part in future episodes or have any questions that you want the guys to answer, head over to our website or social pages and get in touch and put them questions to us. I'm sure all of us be able to help in any shape or form. And a big thank you for the support we've received so far. It's been absolutely incredible. Thank you for listening to us, sharing and being part of our growing community. And with that, it's time to sign off until next time. So guys, stay hooked on Helis. Thank you.
Until next time.
Bye.
See ya.